Hey YouTube, welcome back to me playing some old games. We're still doing Arena, but I figured I would do something a little on the different side. We talked about how in that first dungeon that they put us in, you needed the manual in order to figure out the answer to their riddle. And I keep referring to different parts of the game that I don't actually know how to go about completing. Or certain like buttons that I'm not sure what they are. For instance, the red bar that I don't know what that is. The button where it's the fist grabbing the sword, no idea what that is. And it occurred to me that I can just download the manual and read it. Now, the manual does start off with a pretty big, it is illegal to make unauthorized copies of the software. And I don't want to, not a big fan. So, for purposes of legalities, this falls under fair use, as this is a criticism or critique, seeing as we're looking at old games and seeing how they have progressed today. That would be how that is being covered by fair use. It's a critique of what we are looking at right now. Please don't call it hotline. Now, this part does exist, right? It's illegal to make or distribute copies of this software except to make a backup copy for archival purposes only. I am curious to know if uploading a video like this to YouTube does qualify as archival purposes, because that is one of the goals of this whole series, is to have a little video archive or a video vault of what these old games were like in the evolution of gaming. But I highly doubt that is applicable here. So for all intents and purposes, this is a criticism or a critique. Now we also start off with some credits, and like I wanted to start the series off with credits, I want to take a look at the good folks that went into making this manual and the whole game. So yep, we have BJ Lakshman, Julian LaFay, C.S. Weaver, the guys we talked about on episode 1, but then we have some new names. Programming by Jennifer Pratt, Feruzin Sultani, additional design by Ted Peterson, additional programming and art by Chris Green, Fred Labar, Rick Kozlerich, David Lee Anderson, and then we have music by Eric Heberling. So Heberling made all of the music in Arena. So I'm going to be listening, Heberling. Computer art by Jeff Perryman, Ken Mayfield, Bryant Brossart. Q&A testing by Melissa and David Bogley. So that's cool. They're the team, and then all the testers. Documentation by Lakshman again, and Peggy Neely. Alright, so we have the table of contents. So I'm just going to be going through these one by one. Ooh, general hints and tips, neat. And looking at all of these. So the manual starts out with this short story. I've read it, and I'll just give you the synopsis. It's basically the beginning of the game where you start off into the sewers with a little more narrative around it. 3 points of interest in the short story at the beginning. They canonized Uriel the Septim VII, so Uriel Septim has been around since the beginning of the Elder Scrolls saga. They canonized the Amulet of Kings in this one, which I believe shows up in Oblivion. I'm not sure about Daggerfall. Or Morrowind. And then something else that they talked about that I don't think holds true today is they said that teleportation between cities is common enough. And from my limited time in Oblivion, my time in Skyrim, and my time in ESO, that is not held up. So that's just 3 points of, I guess, interest. Also, even in what I've played in Arena so far, it seems like it's horseback ride between cities. So it's not even... Anyway, here we go, some important stuff. 8 governing stats make up your character. So there's strength. Wow, governs strength. How much damage you do in combat, determining your fatigue points, how much you can carry, how far you can jump. That I didn't even know was going to be a thing. Intelligence, how smart you are, total spell points, negotiating for items and other purchases. That also affects your chances of figuring out a lock in case you wish to pick it. Oh, okay. It is essential that any thief or mage have high intelligence. Had no idea. So something I'm already seeing is that this game relies on the manual. The manual must be read to play this game effectively. This information is in no way given to you within the game. In terms of playing the Elder Scrolls Arena. Reading the manual is part of playing the game. Then we have willpower. This governs how mentally tough you are. It affects your ability to withstand or resist spells. That makes sense. It affects your ability to negotiate successfully with shop owners and innkeepers. So that doesn't have to do with personality. Interesting. It is vital that any character wishing to adequately defend against spells would have high willpower. Agility. Nimbleness. It affects your chances of hitting an enemy with a melee weapon. Okay, so this is your 2-hit. And your chances of getting hit in hand-to-hand melee, which, how often does that occur? I wonder if hand-to-hand melee is encompassing like rats hitting you, like mouth to body melee, and your chance of getting hit by targeted spells. It also affects your chance to steal an item or pick a lock. It is essential for thief class characters to have high agility. Speed. This governs your speed. Directly affects your movement rate in and out of combat, and the fire rate if you are using a missile weapon. Okay. It is important that any class characters have high speed. Okay. Everyone gets this one. Endurance. It's how healthy you are. Directly affects your hit points and healing rate. Good to know. Directly affects hit points and healing rate. And is a factor in determining your fatigue points. Affects your resistance to poisons and other drugs you may come in contact with while adventuring. It is essential that the warrior class characters have high endurance. Personality. Social acceptability. Directly affects your ability to negotiate. Okay, so negotiations does factor into personality. It is essential for any person wishing to interact with others to have high personality. So I wonder, because this one specifically says negotiate successfully with shop owners and innkeepers, and then personality says ability to negotiate with other people. I wish I knew whether or not those overlapped. Luck. This governs how fate affects you. It is a powerful modifier to any action you may take, whether it be attacking, defending, stealing, or anything else. Remember, all your other set characters can be lucky or unlucky depending on your luck score. The average is 50, so that's something to take from one of the earlier segments. The average to all of these is 50. Okay, so this is like an extended explanation of the modifiers and the ability points. Maybe some of this is going to be important. Like, they talked about, so armor has been a big confusing point, so let me read this. This number represents the addition or reduction to armor rating, so AR. The higher your AGI rating, the more is subtracted from your armor rating. Oh, AGI is agility, I'm dumb. The higher your agility, the more is subtracted from your armor rating. Remember, the lower your armor rating, the more protected you are. There it is, okay. So you want low numbers with armor rating. Okay, so this is important. In the equipment part of your character sheet, unidentified magic items will be displayed in cyan. I believe the belt was a cyan item, so we'll have to go back and identify that. This is an interesting little tidbit. You may carry up to 40 items, so it doesn't seem like, it doesn't matter how many kegs you have, you can only carry 40. Armor rating is a very important part of this game that makes no sense. Armor ratings range from +10, unprotected, down to 0, to negative numbers, which represent better and better protection. Yep, negative is better. Here it is in short. Basically, the lower your AR is, the better protected you are. So I think that's pretty much the main takeaway here. I think the rest of this is important, but we can pass. The races. Wow, so this is going to be a lot of lore information. Yeah, let's take it all in. Let's take in the races. Nords. So Nords come from Skyrim. They are tall and fair-skinned. They are strong, willful, and hardy. Growing in their Arctic environment has inured them to its effects. And Nords take half damage from cold-based attacks. On successful throws, take no damage. Cool. They are excellent in all arts concerning the blade and shield. Seems like very little has changed of the Nords. Khajiit hail from the province of Elsewhere. They are fair-skinned people who are extremely hardy, intelligent, and agile. Legend has it they are descendant from an intelligent feline race, for they still retain a strange cast to their features. Oh, so this is a very big difference. Many Khajiit have taken to painting their faces to more resemble their distant cousins. Huh. Khajiit are expert climbers, able to scale chasm wall sides with speed unmatched by any other race. They are adept at all arts, including thievery and sleight of hand. So some big differences. Another point about Khajiits that seem to have been left by the wayside is their ability to scale chasms. I mean, think about Think about how useful that would be in Skyrim. You wouldn't have to get a horse. As a kid, you could just walk up the side of a mountain. Red Guards are from Hammerfell. They are stocky, powerful race, known for being extremely hardy and quick, innately more proficient with weapons. Receive their level divided by 3 as a bonus to hit and damage with any melee weapon, i.e. excluding bows. They are excellent in all arts concerning the blade and shield. This kind of seems to be similar to how Red Guards are nowadays. I guess I'm not as familiar with the Red Guard lore, but as far as I'm aware, yeah, they're just kind of weapon people, aren't they? They're just kind of like Nords, and I guess that makes sense because Hammerfell is next to Skyrim, isn't it? On the map of Tamriel, Skyrim, High Rock, and Hammerfell are all kind of up in a corner. Bretons hail from the province of High Rock. Bretons are highly intelligent and willful, have an outgoing personality. They are weaned on magic, seems to suffuse their very beings. As a result, Bretons take half damage from any magic and no damage on a successful save. They are excellent in all arcane arts. I like Bretons. And I like that they're basically just the magic folk. They're the magic humans of the 3 human races. Except for are there Imperials in here? Imperials aren't a thing in Arena. Interesting. Anyway, it seems like very little has changed from the Arena days, so that's kind of cool. I like that you can definitely see the influence of pen and paper games. This whole thing about Bretons take half damage from any magic-based attacks and no damage on a successful save, that's like straight out of D&D, and I'm sure many other pen and paper games have similar wordings on things. So it's kind of cool to see that reflected in the game. Argonians come from Black Marsh. They are reptilian, known for intelligence, agility, and speed. Because of their reptilian nature, they don't tire easily while swimming and seldom drown. They can swim faster than any other race. They are adept at any art involving the arcane or involving thievery and sleight of hand. So one thing that does seem like it's changed, the Argonians in later games have resistances to poisons. So it's interesting to see that those aren't here yet. Wood Elves hail from the province of Valenwood. They are extremely agile and quick. They receive level divided by 3 as a bonus to hit and damage with any bow weapon. Okay, so yeah, Wood Elves are the archer types. They are suited towards any class, although their nimbleness serves them best in any art involving thievery. High Elves. High Elves come from Somerset. They are tall, golden-skinned people with almond-shaped eyes. High Elves are extremely intelligent, agile, and willful. Drawn to magic as a moth is to flame, and often make quite formidable wizards. High Elves are naturally immune to paralyzation. They are adept at any art involving the arcane. Dark Elves. Ashlanders. Hail from Morrowind. They are tall, dark-skinned people with red glowing eyes, known to be extremely strong and intelligent and very quick. Innately attuned to weaving magic and weapons. They receive a level divided by 4 as a bonus to hit and damage with any melee or ranged weapon. They are adept at any art involving blade and shield combined with the arcane arts. Hey, look at that. We accidentally chose the perfect race for our class. Then we have character class descriptions. I'm just gonna skim through these because there's only really one that we care about, and it's the Spellblade, I think is the name of my class. So thieves are a little interesting. They seem to be crit focused. They are the fastest to rise in experience levels. They start with 25 health plus a d10 in health. Then you have burglars. They may not use shields. They're also crit focused. Then there are the assassins. Skills honed to the killing of others. Greatest chance per level to score a critical hit, 3 times damage when attacking. Not allowed to wear armor greater than leather or allowed to use shields. Rogues are thieves who use arms and armor. Comparable in combat to the warrior class but still retain the ability to pick locks and pockets. May wear up to chain armor and use any weapon or shield with the exception of the tower shield. Slight chance per level to crit strike an opponent. Acrobats. Thieves who have honed their physical skills and agility and balance to such a degree that they are almost supernaturally adept at scaling walls, running, jumping, and tumbling. Because of their nimbleness, acrobats deduct a certain percentage from their opponent's base chance to hit when engaged in combat with them. Because of their need for agility and speed, they only use leather armor, never shields, and have a reasonable selection of weapons. So yeah, they're like the monks, kind of. If you play D&D, monks are typically thought of as the running, jumping, and tumbling sort, the very fast moving. So kind of like monks, except with more weapons. Bards are the proverbial jack of all trades. They have critical strikes, weapon skills, picking locks and pockets, and magic, which I think is the first for this whole thief subclass. It's interesting that they call bards the jack of all trades. We met an NPC that called himself a rogue and a jack of all trades, so I mean, tiny conflict with the manual, but whatever. Warrior classes, warriors, and their subclasses are the strong arm of the Empire. There is no question that any problem can be solved with a sword. Unless otherwise specified, warriors and their subclasses cannot ever cast spells. So warriors, basic stock of the world to Tamriel. Warriors are the only other class able to wear plate armor except for knights and rangers. Only plate armor is strong enough to be enchanted. Warriors are the second fastest to rise in experience, with thieves being the fastest. At high levels, this, along with the use of magical equipment, puts them in equal standing with mages and their ilk. Hey, so no more caster supremacy, huh? They solved that back in Arena. The martial caster discrepancy. Knights are the fighters of the noble class. They can use any armor except leather, and they are immune to paralyzation. They have the ability to repair damaged weapons or armor. Then we have our rangers, woodsmen, and hunters. Tracking, survival, pathfinding. Because of their skill at tracking and survival, they decrease their travel time between cities. Rangers do extra damage equivalent to their level to their opponents. So thematically, rangers are a little weird just to me with my background in RPGs and in video games. Being woodsmen and hunters, you wouldn't expect them to be one of the only classes to use plate armor, in my opinion, but I guess that's just me. Like, I guess fully armored up rangers are totally a thing in the TES world. I would more imagine them to be like chainmail and leather types, not full plate knight type folk, you know? Archers, marksmen of the Empire. You can wear any armor up to chain. Can't use shields. They have a chance of causing a critical strike upon a target per experience level when using any missile weapon. Oh, then you have monks. So monks and acrobats are different. I guess acrobats are the thief types and monks are the warrior types. Hone their bodies into lethal killing machines. May not use any armor or shields, but may use any weapon they prefer. Okay, so that's a little different from the modern idea of a monk. Chance per level to do a crit strike, except for missile weapons, just melee. They deduct from their opponent base chance to hit for each level of experience they have attained. They reduce the amount of damage they would normally take because of mental discipline. If they successfully save versus the spell, it does no damage as opposed to half damage. So in a lot of ways, very similar to what you might consider to be a modern monk, in a lot of ways very different. They can use some weapons, but they can't use any armor. They have a mental discipline damage reduction, as well as a level bonus to their AC in a way, or bonus level to their armor. I really like this take on monk. I think this is I think most pen and paper games would benefit from using monks similar to this. Barbarians have learned how to fight in order to survive the harsh life of their homeland. Can use any armor up to chain, and can use any weapon or shield. They have the most hit points, most starting hit points of any character class. Natural immunity to poison, and they heal additional hit points based upon their endurance. Mage classes, some of the most powerful characters available to play. Mages, they're born manipulating magic, they may not wear armor or use shields, limited assortment of weapons, and they have 2 times their int in spell points. So let's see how this is. Yes, okay, so mages includes sorcerers and healers. Sorcerers, strange breed of magic users. Born with the potential of casting spells, but with no power to generate spell points internally. They absorb spell points and spells that are targeted at them. They absorb 3 times their int in spell points. If a spell is absorbed, they take no damage, but instead adds the spell's total power points divided by the sorcerer's level to his or own spell points. This absorption ability, they can't do it to themselves. If they fail, they take damage. And if they get to the max, they just start taking damage anytime they get hit with the spell. The upside to having to tank spells is that when you're fully charged, they have more spell points than any other mage class. They can't use shields, but they have a wide selection of weapons and armor. Wow, okay, so yeah, this whole class has to do with tanking spells in order to get points, and then using those points that they have absorbed. So that's an interesting take on Sorcerer. Very unique. Healers are mages dedicated to treating injuries and helping those in need. Increased base healing rate. Healers have 1.75 of their int in spell points. Alright, yeah, so just what you would assume a healer is or does. I'm kind of curious as to the use of a healer in a game like Arena, because you're only healing yourself. It just doesn't seem like it would be very helpful. Battle mages. I believe that's... Oh, wait, am I a battle mage or am I a spell sword? Pretty sure I'm a battle mage. Trained and bred to manipulate the essence of magic in battle. Highly skilled at delivering offensive spells. 1.75 their int in spell points. Certain offensive spells in the Spellmaker are cheaper for a battle mage to purchase. Interesting, I'll have to look at that. In combat, a trained battle mage has few equals. Okay. Spell swords. Warrior mages dedicating their lives to learning not only the arts of war, but the ethereal ways of power. Can use almost any weapon, any shields, and any armor, just not tower shields. Receive only 1.5 times their int in spell points. So there doesn't really seem to be a difference between battle mages and spell swords, other than it looks like spell swords can use more armor and more shields, and they get more health and less spell points. So just some mechanical tweaks, but it really does appear like they're the same class for intents and purposes. If you want to do more magic, you go battle mage. If you want to do more battle, you go spell sword, which is not what I would have assumed, but whatever. Nightblades. Mages that do infiltration, spying, and stealth, so they're like magic rogues. Yep, they even get the crit. Yeah, they're just magic rogues. Alright, moving on. Character condition. This is something I know nothing about. At various times you will experience things that do not necessarily leave you in the fittest health. Some of these conditions are disease, poison, spell effects, or just plain intoxication. The designated color behind your head will give you an idea of what your current condition is. Okay, so the head that they have in the bottom left corner. Not shown here. Aqua, default character condition. Red, down to 10% of their maximum health. Blue, some kind of magical effect. Green, poisoned or intoxicated. And yellow is disease. Okay, so that makes sense. Blue is magic. Green is poisoned, yellow is diseased. I feel like this is really intuitive for what you would assume these colors mean. So next is keys and commands. We're just gonna scroll through this because we pretty much... Oh, the buttons! Hand grabbing icon, use something. When this icon is clicked, an inventory of usable magic items will come up. Pick the item you wish to use and then follow any on-screen prompts that may arise, such as target for a ring spell. Okay, so that's really good to know. Holding down the right mouse button and moving the mouse swings your weapon. This is an example of this manual being part of the game, because again, they give you no indication of how to do that in the game itself. You have to read this to know what to do. You may still jump by using the J key. Cool. Finger picking up gold icon steal, so you can pickpocket people, but if you click a barrier, such as a chest or door, you will attempt to unlock it. Also very good to know. Had no idea. Only 16 quests are recorded in the logbook at any given time, which is why you want to occasionally print out your logbook if it's important. Huh. I didn't think there was going to be an actual use for that, other than just like printing out your logbook and being like, look, it's my logbook. Oh, that's important. So the amount you heal per hour of rest is greatly affected by where you sleep. So the nicer the accommodation, the more you will heal per hour, which is the reason you would want different rooms in this game. So that's also very good to know. And it has holidays, and that's really cool. I wonder if that's I wonder if we're actually gonna see these things. I'm gonna like write these down, and I'm gonna bring these up as we're going through the rest of the Let's Play. So I'm reading the blessings entry, and I don't really understand. So it says, blessing characters on any action performed within the next 24 hours, which doesn't seem like a proper sentence. And then it says they could be useful for anybody who is going to go do some dangerous stuff, basically. And that it can make the difference between life and death. The cost is dependent on how much is donated to the temple in question. As with all places, temples may show partiality to those from its own province. So it doesn't actually tell you what happens. It tells you that if you're from the area, the blessings are cheaper, but you can donate any amount. So maybe you get better blessings in places that you're from, but then also, what do the blessings do? There's no mechanical information. So that's cool. So reading through the Mages Guild, probably a good idea to jot down the city location of a guild with a large selection, since this indicates that the mage working there is an adept, a particularly rare and difficult level of experience to attain. So there's a difference. These aren't just like randomly generated inventories. The guildmaster will give you his list of available potions and their prices. Curative potions are the most effective when taken as soon as you are hurt. Delaying its use only strengthens whatever ails you. The potion will eventually become useless. Pay attention to the calendar. On certain days, things can be found at half price. What? That's also very cool. They have BOGO sales. So identifying a magic item costs 1/10 of the item's worth. Oh, cool, there are metal types too. Iron is, so in order of bad to good, it's iron, steel, silver. Certain monsters can only be hit by silver. Elven, dwarven, mithril, adamantium, and ebony. And then, yeah, it's just generally those are better. So you don't want iron, you do want steel. I will remember that, or probably won't. Actually, I'll have to refer to this guide multiple times to make sure that which one's better. Is it dwarven or elven? It's dwarven. Then you have shield types. I feel like this will become apparent. I remember in the character screen, when I selected a shield, it had like just a couple numbers that changed. So I think I'll be able to intuit what it protects and what the bonus is. But this is still a nice guide to have. Oh, this is also a nice guide to have. I was worried that I would buy something that was worse than the weapon I currently had. But not anymore. This is, I think, another great example of this guide being necessary for the playing of the game. Oh, the palace gets its own whole entry. They may have certain things to offer, such as valuable clues for some lost artifact. I wonder what lost artifact they might be referring to. There are probably several. Can enlist people to help with a particular problem, so they're quest givers. So the manual actually encourages you to leave the city gates to go visit the wilderness, because there can be things like crypts and temples and dungeons. So that's a whole thing. I wasn't even sure if that was. I mean, I went outside the city gates once, but I didn't know. I didn't know it was a whole big region that you were really open to explore. Then we have a section on guilds. Here it says at times you may find yourself pitted against them, at other times they may be your staunchest allies. So there do appear to be times that you're going to interact with, like, the Mages Guild outside of just buying and selling things. It does say, though, that most of what you're doing is selling things. Or, well, you're buying them from them. They sell things. It is said the Mages Guild has many secrets, including the location of some legendary places. So I'll have to look out for that. It's not just a shop. Apparently there are quests around the Mages Guild. Then you have the Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood, which, by the way, kind of cool to see. The Dark Brotherhood was canonized back in Arena. Wow, also the Blades. The Blades are a thing back in Arena. Little is known about them, except that they are deadly in combat. The Necromancers are their own guild, and apparently directly oppose the Mages Guild. It is said that when facing the Necromancers, one need fear what comes after death more than death itself. Some Dwarf Rats are just like general bandits, but they're outside of the Thieves Guild. Thieves Guild attack Dwarf Rats because infringement upon turf, so I guess gang wars or something. The Underking. The Underking is a mysterious figure, walking through myth and legend. Some say he is actually a very old and powerful lich. Others, that he is an archmage whose very being has somehow been transformed by his use of magic. It is agreed, however, that he is a force to be reckoned with in the world of Tamriel. sending his undead soldiers on errands whose goals only he knows is privy to. It seems his forces often find themselves opposed to the necromancers, a fact that reassures many, for if they were to unite, all of Tamriel would suffer. Okay, so there's a city guard section 2 that's kind of important. Basically, it just says if they see you stealing, they'll try to kill you. You can try to kill them. If you get away from them, they'll forget. Just as their tempers are short, so are their memories. And then it talks about you can also break into places without trying to pick the lock, so you can attack doors and chests. You may break your weapon if your weapon isn't strong enough. It also says be careful with chests, or you might damage the contents of whatever was inside. I don't know how you're supposed to be careful when your only options are attack. Oh, I right-clicked. It says some commonly asked questions by would-be thieves, and it has one. What happens if you're fighting guards and happen to get beat and go down fighting? You're dead. A note on negotiate. Negotiate, using the buttons. So it's talking about traveling in the map. It doesn't really tell us anything we don't already know. There is a note of interest. Walking between cities at the normal game time pace can take anywhere from 10 to 12 hours of real time. So that's fun. Here it talks about the wilderness. It doesn't really tell us too much more than we already know. It warns about vagabonds, ruffians, and other monsters. It says occasionally you can find friendly places. It has a technical limitation note. The automap is paged in as you traverse. If you are near the edge, it may not show you the next region until you enter it. It's not a mistake, but a memory limitation. To hold 12 million square kilometers of maps would take more memory than most machines have. I'm curious to know how things have changed. And then it says you can ask people to sometimes lead you to things, so that's fun. So there's differences in your swings. So diagonal / left, no, to the left, minus 5% to hit, plus 2 damage. Diagonal / right, same deal. Pull the mouse sharply down to the right, yeah. Horizontal cut, pull the mouse left or right is just a regular attack. Vertical chop, minus 10% to hit, but plus 4 damage. And then thrust is plus 10% to hit, minus 4 damage. Wild that they have these differences, and wild that they have these differences at all. I feel like a lot of games are just like hit, you know? You are hitting. You are attacking and hitting. But to have these differences and then not tell you about them except for the manual. I've said this a couple times in the video now, but just another example of the manual being a requisite for playing this game. So then we have a section about conditions in combat, like different diseases and curses. Not really a whole ton to learn from here. It tells you some ways to heal yourself, but we already know most of those ways. Something that I didn't know before. It says here, having your int down to 15 isn't helpful, nor is it safe. If you are hit with another curse, it could kill you. So having your stats go to 0 will kill you. It says, if you find yourself in the unlucky circumstance of not having any of these things, try resting. Certain poisons will wear off over time. Others will continue until you're dead. Don't take a chance. So try resting, but also don't take a chance, because certain poisons will wear off, but others won't. So that's a very confusing, contradictory 3 sentences. But whatever. I like here in paralyzation, it says the monster will continue to attack, although further attacks won't add to the paralyzation time. Rarely does it have to, because you'll die. Cool, so then they have the Bestiary. So I'm just gonna kind of skim this, basically, because I doubt this is gonna have a ton of useful info. Oh, I was wrong, they do have some useful info. It is rumored that to the north are larger, more dangerous versions of the normal wolf. Snow wolves are said to be able to freeze their prey using some sort of magic. Skeletons are resistant to edged weapons. Minotaur are very strong and slightly resistant to magic. Spiders can paralyze people. I know all about that. Because of their vile habits, ghouls have a chance of transmitting a disease onto those they bite. Hellhounds have fire breath that burns their intended victims, and they are resistant to fire-based spells. Ghosts have the ability to drain a wizard's spell point at range. Ghosts also have the ability to see invisible creatures. Those who are struck by a zombie have a chance of getting a rotting disease, which will slowly but surely eat away at their health, eventually turning them into a zombie. Killing a troll is almost impossible, for doing so would require that the damage was done in such a way as to destroy the flesh rather than just sever it. Wraiths are the spirits of long-dead mages. Wraiths can cast spells and see invisible creatures. Each type of golem has a resistance, assumedly relating to its type, although it doesn't actually say. Demons are from the netherworld, often gating themselves into our plane of existence. So there isn't an oblivion in Arena, it is the netherworld, but they do gate themselves, so it's like the basis for the oblivion crisis. Fire demons also have the ability to see invisible creatures. Because of their magical nature, Medusa are immune to weapons below a certain quality. Oh my goodness, this last entry. It is a sad commentary to include those of our own race in this list of creatures and foes, but there are those traveling the lands of Arena who would see profit through your pain. These people come in as much variety as you or I, some following the paths of the arcane, others familiar with sword and shield. Do not underestimate any who would approach you. Their skills can be as deadly as your own. Hey, general hints and tips. My character keeps dying. Get good. It seems like there aren't any noble quests to participate in. Get good. How exactly is leveling computed? Math. So this one's actually helpful. Sometimes I'll have a monster in my sights while I hide behind a corner, but when I cast my spell it hits the wall. Why? Because the spell basically has its own hitbox and it's impacting the wall. Oh wow, this is interesting. It seems like playing certain characters gives me an advantage. Can the game be won, say, with a thief? They say, yes, you can win with any class, and they try to balance it by making certain classes level up faster than other classes. They also say, we know that there are a number of ways through each puzzle/area in the game that are achievable by any class. So apparently they have multipath dungeons. If you want to try your hand in a dungeon quickly, besides the one in which you start, there is one located just south of Ebonheart in the Morrowind Providence. Good luck, ... This reads like an ad. For some reason, the load time in the game is very long, sometimes as much as 2 minutes. Can anything be done? Yes, we highly recommend that you run Arena with Smart Drive. Download Smart Drive today. Is it safe to run with Norton Speed Disk? Will it make a difference? Yes, Norton Speed Disk is safe to run. Norton, there's my man. Norton is a legend. And then we have reached the index. So I guess that's it. There's an addendum, so we're not done yet. I have no idea if this addendum is important. Well, the addendum is weird because it doesn't seem to actually change anything. It's just giving more condensed information. Okay, late additions, changes, or enhancements not included in the player's guide. But a sorcerer's percentage chance to absorb spells is equal to intelligence plus wisdom divided by 2. There is no spell that will allow a caster to heal a drained attribute. The manual contains an error in this regard. Not all classes are equally powerful, and consequently, many classes must employ different techniques to complete the game. If you find the gameplay too difficult, consider starting over with a different class. Each class has the ability to complete the game successfully. You just have to get good. Oh, once you receive a clue as to its staff piece location, ask people where it is to pinpoint the location. The place name will be found at the bottom of the pick list. You will need to scroll down to see it. If only I had read the manual. Oh, cool, calendars. And they have some of the holidays, like, bolted. That's really cool. Download the addendum. You can get the Elder Scrolls calendars. So most of this also just seems to be issues with hardware and how to fix it and get around it. I don't think any of these are probably important nowadays. While Arena will run on this number, we recommend you play it on a this number DX, you know, like, oh, or faster, okay, it's the processor type. So, I mean, a lot of this is outdated information. What is useful today is pretty good. So, alright, anyway, overall, yeah, 10 stars, integral to the game. You need to read this before playing Arena, just to have a good understanding of how the base mechanics work, what all the buttons do, the different classes, and it's a good idea just to read the lore and to see the Bestiary, kind of give you some interesting information that is good to know going in. I would have liked to know that spiders could paralyze me before I went into Fang Lair, but here we are. Anyway, so that's pretty much all I got to say. If you like this video, click those buttons. If you don't, please, please, please. Alright, bye.